the weirdest part of this whole mess is not the fight, not the crying, not even the rumors. It is a cast member walking into an event in a sling while TLC smiles and calls it offset injuries. And then everybody suddenly goes quiet like nothing happened. That silence is where the real drama starts, and that silence is what the fans refuse to accept. I am Sabrina, and you are watching TLC Drama Live. If you live for 90-day Fiancé chaos, hit subscribe, drop a comment, and tell me, if you had to choose between protecting someone you love or telling the full truth on camera, which one would you pick? Because in this story, one silent choice changes how fans see everything. We have a hurt cast member, a franchise that loves to pretend things are handled, and a fandom that has learned to never take the official version as the full story. You know how it goes. A new episode airs, everyone is laughing at the usual fights, then a few days later, someone posts a selfie, and suddenly there is a cast member in a hospital bracelet or a sling. No context. No explanation. Only a short statement from TLC saying something like offset incident during personal time. For a regular show, people might move on. For 90 Day Fiancé, fans smell blood. They start asking, which couple was filming that day, who was in that city, who is missing from social media, and who suddenly looks stressed in their stories. Because this franchise has trained viewers to expect chaos behind the scenes. From screaming matches in tell-alls to cast members exposing each other on Instagram Live, people know that whatever we see on TLC is only the PG version. And the pattern is always the same. Every time there is some strange injury or sudden trip to the ER, a second storyline wakes up in the background. Old secrets, visa fears, deleted posts, and shady behavior float up again. People start pulling out screenshots from months earlier, interviews, old DMs, old cameos, and lining them up like a detective board. They ask, who benefits if this injury is called an accident? Who loses everything if the full truth comes out? In this case, one name keeps popping up on fan pages, subreddits, and gossip accounts. Jasmine. Not because she was caught on video throwing a punch, not because we saw her near a hospital, but because of her history on the show. Voice raised, hands shaking, threats, tears, dramatic exits, and then, a few days later, baby, I was emotional, I love you. She has become the face of peak 90-day meltdown energy. So when any cast member shows up injured, everybody checks her socials first. The second fans saw a sling and a vague, offset injuries line, the real episode started online, and TLC was no longer in control of the story. That is the dangerous thing for the network. The audience has grown up. People do not sit and wait for the next Sunday to know what happened. They refresh Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, and X. They scan stories from background tiles, ceilings, rings on fingers, who is in the reflection of a car window. They see which cast member is posting selfies from a hotel, who is reposting fan edits, and who has gone quiet or started posting Bible quotes and sad songs. So when this injury hits, and one cast member is suddenly moving his arm less, not doing Q and as, smiling in that stiff way where you know something is off, fans start looking around. They see Jasmine crying in one story, hinting at betrayal in another, and then deleting things. They see Gino pretending everything is normal but avoiding certain questions. And they remember all the times the show cut away from their biggest fights, or skipped over days during filming. You know what makes it even messier? TLC has a habit of saying, offset incident, whenever something is too sensitive to air. It could be personal drama, a security problem, something legal, or something they find too dark for their Sunday audience. So the phrase becomes a catch-all cover. Fans do not trust it. They read offset incident and translate it in their minds to something bad we do not want tied to our brand. Some people think the network is protecting cast privacy. Others think they are protecting themselves. And in the middle of that, you have real human relationships under insane pressure. Camera crews, contracts, NDAs, money tied to episodes, and on top of that, immigration stress and culture clash. One wrong move, one call to police, one report at the hospital, and suddenly the story is not only about cheating or lying. It is about who is allowed to stay in the country, who risks charges, and who will carry the blame. Fans watch Jasmine's past scenes with that in mind. The way she threatens to expose things, the way she mentions visas, support, sponsorship, the way she talks about her future in the US, influencer life, brand deals, surgery, looks. So when a cast injury appears and TLC gives almost no detail, the audience fills in the blanks with what they already believe about these people. To them, this is not a random accident. This is the moment where all the secret tensions around love, money, and papers finally explode. And that is exactly why people clicked on every new rumor they saw. Because somewhere behind that sling, someone, in their eyes, had to choose. Protect the show, protect a partner, or protect the truth. The question is, who made which choice and who will pay the price for it? The funny thing is, even when the drama is not directly about her, Jasmine still ends up at the center of it. Every time, there is an injury, a rumor, a secret, and people run straight to her page like, okay, yeah, Madam Ka reaction kaya hi. That is the grip she has on this franchise, and it did not happen by accident. From the moment she showed up with Gino on 90 Day Fiancé, she was different. No chill, no filter, no fake calm housewife energy. She cried in the car, screamed in restaurants, threatened to leave, demanded proof, and then 5 minutes later asked for a kiss. One second she is talking about soulmates, the next second she is going through his phone or bringing up old texts. Fans saw explosive jealousy, obsession with control, and this deep fear of being abandoned that showed up as anger. I am Sabrina, this is TLC Drama Live, and if you have ever watched one of Jasmine's meltdowns and thought, this is too much, but I cannot look away, hit subscribe and tell me in the comments, do you see her as toxic, misunderstood, or a bit of both? On screen, Jasmine gives big reactions to small triggers. Gino talking to his ex, Gino sending a hatless photo, Gino not saying the right words in the right tone. She goes from 0 to 100 in seconds. She talks about betrayal like the world ended. She threatens to break up, then begs him to fight for her. For many viewers, it looks like emotional whiplash. For some, it looks like someone who has been hurt before and is trying to control everything so they never feel that pain again. Off screen, that emotional roller coaster moves to her Instagram. Fans know her pattern. She posts a selfie with tears in her eyes, mascara slightly smudged, maybe a long caption about people show their true colors, or I deserve real love. Then, a wave of DMs and comments flood in. Some people comfort her, some drag Gino. Then, a few hours or days later, the post vanishes or the caption is edited into something calmer. When you see a person crying on screen and then crying again on stories weeks later, your brain starts to connect those dots, even if you do not know the full story. Over time, viewers start treating Jasmine's Instagram like a weather report for her relationship. Happy selfie, sunny. Long emotional paragraph, storm warning. Deleted content, full hurricane. So when that offset injury rumor starts floating around, where do fans go first? Straight to her page, scanning her grid like FBI agents. Was she in the same city as the event where the cast member showed up hurt? Did she tag Gino? Did she mention hospital, stress, love, regret? She might not have said anything direct, but heavy emotions have their own language. A sad audio, a random quote about betrayal, a story about some people only love you when you are useful. For a normal person, that is vague venting. For a reality TV star with known visa drama, that is gasoline on the rumor fire. The thing with Jasmine is, she does not keep her feelings neat and private. She sobs on camera. She shakes when she yells. She repeats, you do not know how much I gave up like a mantra. That level of vulnerability pulls people in. Some viewers feel protective. They say she is dramatic, but her pain feels real. Others say she weaponizes those tears to control the narrative. They point out how fast she can flip from rage to romance once she gets what she wants. There is also the language barrier and culture layer. Sometimes she phrases things in a raw, slightly broken way that sounds more intense. English is not her first language, so a sentence that might sound dramatic in English could be normal in Spanish. Fans interpret tone, not intent, which makes everything feel hotter. Simple lines turn into big accusations in people's heads. Then there is Gino. Quiet, awkward, often expressionless. Their dynamic is wild. She is over the top, he is flat. She throws emotional fireballs. He stares, blinks, and mumbles. That contrast made her look even more unhinged to some viewers, and even more relatable to others who saw a woman begging for emotional response from a guy who looked numb. When you put all of this together, you see why her name trends so easily. She is not neutral background energy. She is the person you remember from the episode, the one who made you shout at the TV. So when an injury rumor drops, and TLC does their minimalist offset incident statement, people do not think of the quiet cast members first. They jump to the one who has shown them how big her anger can get. They do not need proof. Their brains tell them a story based on past seasons. If someone got hurt, who is the most explosive person we have seen? That mental image is Jasmine, hair flying, eyes wide, voice cracking, shouting in a hotel room. Reality TV trains the audience to expect repeat behavior. So even if this trip has nothing to do with her, her image is already burned into the rumor. And this is where things start to twist. Because as fans play detective with her public emotions, they mix in something much deeper and much more dangerous for her, Gino, and anyone linked to them. They start mixing her crying posts with one word that raises the stakes for every immigrant on the show: deportation. When TLC gives you one dry line about an offset incident and refuses to say who, where, or why, the fandom does not shrug and go to sleep. They treat it like a challenge. That is when the Reddit threads wake up, the Instagram fan pages zoom in, and every tiny clue becomes a possible smoking gun. People do not trust the edit anymore. They trust timestamps, tiles, and who liked which post. So picture the timing. On one side, you have a cast member quietly showing up in a sling, giving short answers, skipping Q and As, and looking uncomfortable whenever the topic of what happened comes up. On the other side, you have Jasmine posting heavy emotional content, Gino acting like a robot, and TLC acting like nothing is wrong. You give that combo to Reddit, and they will build a whole unofficial case file out of it. I am Sabrina, and you are watching TLC Drama Live. If you have ever scrolled through a 90-day Fiancé Reddit thread at 3 am reading screenshots and thinking, yeah log CSIC cam nahi, then subscribe right now and tell me in the comments, do you trust fan detectives more or TLC statements more? Here is how these things usually start. One person posts a blurry photo from a fan meet and greet and writes, is that a cast member with a sling? Another person replies, wait, I saw their story last week, they were fine. A third person adds, TLC just dropped a random line about an offset incident around the same time. Instantly, curiosity turns into a group project. People begin matching dates. They look at when certain cast members stopped posting, when they reappeared, what city they tagged. Reddit loves receipts. Someone pulls screen recordings of Jasmine's stories from that same weekend. Somebody else notes a background that looks like the same hotel where other cast were staying for filming. Another fan searches TikTok for people who posted accidental cameos of the couple in the background. It sounds insane, but this fandom has located locations from a reflection in a toaster before. Once fans see an injury photo and a stressed cast member in the same radius, they start writing the missing scenes in their heads, and no lawyer, no NDA, no TLC rep can fully compete with that. In this wave of theory building, Gino becomes a big focus. Not because he is talking, but because he is not. People notice he has reduced his lives, he is avoiding certain comments about filming, and he is giving copy-paste answers on cameos when fans try to bait him into confirming anything. Silence is flexible. You can bend it into any story you want. So one major speculation starts forming. That someone got hurt during a heated moment. Production labeled it offset to detach from responsibility, and cast were warned to keep details vague. Fans who already see Gino as emotionally checked out and Jasmine as explosive plug that template right into this gap. Then they ask the next question. If something serious happened, who would have the most to lose if the full story got written down in an official report? That is when the visa topic sneaks back in. People remember every time Jasmine mentioned paperwork stress, support, her fear of having to go back, her dream to stay in the US and grow her online presence. They remember conversations about financial sponsorship. They remember how often she said, you promised to take care of me, and I left everything for you. A lot of fans take that and think, okay, if any legal mess happened, immigration risk would be her biggest nightmare. Reddit threads then start linking more dots. Someone points out how she posted emotional content shortly after the rumored incident, then went quiet. Another user says they heard whispers about ICE or some review behind the scenes. None of this is proven, and to be honest, most of it is speculation stacked on speculation, but rumor does not care about proof. Rumor cares about vibes, timing, and characters people already feel strongly about. You see comments like, this explains why she looked so stressed in that last live, or this is why Gino looked scared at the tell-all. People go back to old episodes and rewatch scenes with new eyes. A small argument now looks like a clue. A throwaway line about documents now feels like foreshadowing. The show did not promise that, but once the audience writes its own script, the original edit feels like a cover story, not the main story. And notice something else. The injured cast member in this type of scenario almost becomes background in the fan narrative. The real focus becomes, what does this mean for Jasmine's future in the US, and what does it say about Gino's loyalty? Did he protect her? Did he protect himself? Did he protect production? Fans are obsessed with that choice. They project their own standards onto a situation they only half know. That is the dangerous power of internet detective work. Yes, sometimes fans catch real inconsistencies, lies, affairs, hidden timelines. Other times, they connect dots that look perfect on a Reddit post but are completely off in real life. But the damage to public image is the same. Once a story about secret injuries, hidden reports, and visa panic catches fire, it sticks to the cast like glue, even if no one ever proves a single detail. As this kind of theory spreads, the tone online shifts. The questions stop being light. They start sounding like interrogation. Who was there? Who called for help? Who spoke to the hospital? Who signed what? And buried in those questions, another, more personal fear rises up for everyone who has watched 90 Day for years. What happens when relationship drama crosses that invisible line where love story turns into legal story? The second people feel like a love story might have turned into a legal story, the vibe changes. The memes slow down. The comments start sounding heavier. Fans stop asking, who is messy, and start asking, who is safe? And in the middle of this shift, one question keeps coming up again and again. Who told the truth and who stayed quiet? Because when you have someone hurt, even slightly, and a whole filming schedule hanging in the balance, someone somewhere has to decide how much detail goes on paper. What was an accident? What was mutual? What was a misunderstanding? What should stay a private matter? With 90-day couples, that is never a simple choice. There is money on the line, contracts, fame, and for someone like Jasmine, years of fear about her future in the US. I am Sabrina, this is TLC Drama Live, and I want you to think about this. If you saw something go too far between people you knew, would you tell the full story to officials, or would you keep it vague to protect them? Subscribe if you love these messy moral questions, and tell me in the comments, are you team, always tell everything, or team, protect the people you love? Fans who watch Jasmine on screen already know her pressure points. She talked about leaving her kids for this relationship, moving countries, starting over, trusting Gino to provide, relying on him emotionally and financially. She also talked about surgery, beauty standards, wanting to be an influencer, wanting independence. Every time she cried on the show about money or papers, the message underneath was, I cannot go back to the life I had. I already burned those bridges. Now put that mindset next to an offset incident that the network refuses to describe. In fan theories, the picture forms fast. If any official report went into too much detail, someone could be at risk. Risk of charges, risk of contracts ending, risk of a visa sponsor saying, I am out, risk of immigration seeing drama and deciding to take a closer look at someone's file. Even if this fear is exaggerated online, it reflects real anxiety immigrants feel around every formal system. So when fans imagine a hurt cast member and a scared partner, they also imagine a third person in the room, or at least in the group chat. Someone who knows more than the public, who was asked, maybe begged, not to be too specific. The rumors paint that person as stuck in the middle. On one side, the moral weight of the truth. On the other side, someone crying, saying, if you say everything, I lose my entire future here. This is where loyalty gets tested, not on Instagram, but in those quiet, off-camera choices. And this is where viewers start projecting like crazy. Some say, if you lie or withhold facts to protect someone from consequences, you become part of the problem. Others argue that in relationships, people will always protect the person they feel bonded to, even if it hurts their own reputation. The scariest part for the audience is realizing that in real life, these choices are not scripted, and one sentence in a report can change the entire path of someone's life. Add TLC and contracts on top of that. Multiple cast members from different reality shows have talked publicly about NDAs, about being told to not discuss legal matters, about being reminded that anything they say online or to press can break contracts. So imagine being in the middle type person. You know your friend, or coworker, or co-star is involved in something messy. You know what really happened. But you also know your name is on pages of legal language you barely read. You know producers are telling you this is being handled. Do not speculate, wait for the official story. At the same time, fans are deeming you. Are you okay? Was this person involved? Blink if you need help. They build whole theories about your silence. Every time you post something neutral, they respond with drop the truth, stop covering up, protect the victims. You feel squeezed from three directions. Production above, fandom below, your personal relationships right next to you. Now place Jasmine in that pressure cooker from the fan perspective. They see her history with jealousy, control, outbursts. They see Gino's passive style. They see past threats of leaving, taking everything, exposing secrets. For them, it is easy to picture her putting emotional pressure on anyone who could make or break her future in the US. Again, this is perception, not proven fact. But online, perception often becomes the main currency. There is another layer that people do not always say out loud: the immigrant label. For someone who comes on 90-day, the visa is not background paperwork, it is life. A sponsorship withdrawal, a charge, a broken relationship, all of that can affect status. People who grew up in the US might see a fight, a report, a lawsuit, and think, messy but survivable. Someone on a visa thinks, deportation, separation, starting over with nothing. This is why many viewers, especially from immigrant families, feel sick watching these plotlines. They know how one mistake or one accusation, even if not fully accurate, can trigger a chain reaction with authorities. They know families that stopped calling police in real life because they were too afraid of what might happen to the person involved, even if they needed help. They see that fear echoed in 90-day dramas, even when TLC keeps the details vague. So as more and more threads connect the timing of an injury, the silence from TLC, the tense mood from the cast, and the rise in deportation rumors, the audience shifts the core question. It is no longer only who hurt whom. It becomes who chose safety, whose safety, and at what cost. That is a much heavier story than a regular cheating scandal. And once fans are in that headspace, the next phase becomes almost predictable. They stop looking only at crying selfies and start looking at who is still in the country, who vanished, who is suddenly visiting family, overseas longer than expected, and who is refusing to answer anything about their current status on live streams. That is when gossip steps into the territory of real fear, and every lost post or missed appearance feels like proof of the worst-case scenario. Visa. That one word turns 90-day fiancé from messy entertainment into something that hits your stomach. Drama you laugh at is one thing. Drama that might affect someone's legal right to stay in a country is something else. And with Jasmine, that tension has been sitting in the background from the moment she first talked about leaving her life in Panama for Gino. On paper, the show explains the K-1 process in a simple way. You apply, you wait, you get approved, you fly, you have 90 days to marry. Easy, right? But anyone who has done paperwork knows nothing about it feels easy. There are forms, interviews, proofs of relationship, income checks, background checks. And once you are in the US on that type of visa, your whole future comes down to one relationship and a stack of documents. I am Sabrina, and you are watching TLC Drama Live. If your family has ever stressed over any kind of visa, then you know why these storylines feel personal. Hit subscribe and tell me in the comments, do you think TLC shows enough of the legal stress or hides most of it behind cute music and jokes? With Jasmine, the fear of being sent back has never been subtle. She says it with her chest. I gave up everything. I left my kids. You promised to bring me there. She ties her emotional safety directly to Gino's ability and willingness to keep her in the US. The way she talks about marriage is not only romance, it is survival, status, and proof that her sacrifices were not a mistake. So fans watch her scenes and hear more than love talk. They hear a woman trying to lock in a future through a man who sometimes feels half present. They hear someone who believes, maybe deeply, that if this relationship fails, her entire life plan collapses. And when you mix that belief with jealousy, insecurity, and anger, you get a high-pressure cooker. In 90 Day, we see many couples fight about trust, money, cheating. But in couples with visa pressure, every fight has a second layer. If you leave me, I am stuck. If you do not file, I am done. If you do not show up to that interview, I lose my chance. The person with citizenship holds real power, whether they use it or not. The person who moved countries holds real fear, even if they try to hide it behind makeup and filters. That is why any rumor about hospitals, police, or offset incidents around someone like Jasmine makes fans jump straight from gossip to deportation theories, even when there is no official statement to back it up. The timing in this story matters a lot in people's minds. They look at when she filmed, when she moved, when her status became a hot topic in tell-alls and fan Q&As. Every time she avoided giving a clear answer about exact paperwork or laughed off a question about her current visa, people added that to their mental file. Not proof of anything illegal, but proof of uncertainty. Proof that not everything is cleanly resolved. Then, Layer on top her visible desire for a public life in the US. She talked about cosmetic work. She talked about wanting to look a certain way, to maintain an image, to do brand deals, to be on social media as a full-time presence. For viewers, this feeds a specific story. They see someone who feels like their whole dream version of themselves sits on American soil. Losing that, for them, is not only losing a zip code. It is losing an identity they built in their head. When the injury rumors started, online fans pulled all of this emotional context into the frame. They looked at her crying posts, her cryptic hints, her sudden quiet patches. Then they added the most sensitive ingredient of all: questions about whether her visa timeline, extensions, or transfers were as smooth as she implied. Some claimed she had gaps. Some claimed she was racing deadlines. Most of those claims are unverified, but they spread because they sound like something that could happen in this pressure zone. Immigration law is complicated and different for every case, so anyone online acting like an instant expert is lying to themselves. But the general point is simple enough. If you are on a temporary status tied to a relationship, any official mess looks scarier. A simple police call that a citizen might shrug off as a bad night can become a background check red flag for someone still tying up paperwork. Even if no one ever loses their status over it, the fear is always there. Fans project this fear heavily onto Jasmine. They take her on-screen panic and map it to worst-case scenarios off-screen. They say things like, "one wrong move and she is gone," or "TLC is hiding what really happened to protect her from ICE." Those are big claims, and without hard facts they stay in the rumor zone, but they show you how audience minds are working. There is another piece people often miss. When TLC brands something as an offset incident, that can involve real internal reviews: safety, insurance, HR, legal. If an ambulance was involved, if a hospital visit was logged, there are forms, there are names, there are dates. None of that automatically means immigration is knocking at anyone's door. But in fan brains, any review of documents becomes instant code for "they are checking visas." So when Jasmine goes quiet for a bit during a wave of these rumors, some viewers do not think she is tired or she is taking a break. They think she is being checked, she is detained, she is on hold. Those words appear in comment sections like people are narrating a crime show, not chatting about a reality series. And once those words float around, every tiny online move from her side looks like evidence for or against that story. If she posts a throwback from Panama, people ask, "is she back?" If she shares a dog photo from a US-style apartment, people comment, "so she is still here." If she avoids tagging locations at all, they call it suspicious. There is no way to win against a narrative like that. Transparency feeds one theory, silence feeds another. For a lot of immigrants watching, this is the part that hits hardest. Because they know what it feels like to have your whole life judged through limited documents and other people's words. They know how every interaction with the system feels loaded. They see Jasmine cry on TV during visa talks and think of their own interviews, their own long lines, their own questions from officers who held their fate in a folder. As the rumors about documents being reviewed and status being checked spread, the internet story about this injury stops being mainly about the person who got hurt. It reshapes into a bigger, harsher narrative. Did a reality TV relationship lead to a moment where a woman's entire US future stood on someone else's description of one bad night? And if that is even halfway possible, how much of this show are we still willing to consume like it is light entertainment? Silence from a reality star is loud, especially when that star is Jasmine, who usually posts her breakfast, her tears, her workouts, her dog, her everything. So when her feed slows down during a storm of injury rumors, visa speculation, and offset incident theories, fans feel it in their bones. They start counting hours, then days, then they start to panic. First it looks like a normal gap, no new stories for a few hours, then half a day, then a full day. A few loyal fans comment under older posts, "Are you okay, Queen?" No response. People DM her, nothing. Someone asks Gino in his comments where she is. He ignores it or types something vague like, "we are fine, thanks." Instead of calming anyone, that silence becomes fuel. I am Sabrina, this is TLC Drama Live, and if you have ever stalked a cast member's page refreshing like, "post something," anything, even a selfie in the dark, you know how fast concern turns into obsession. Subscribe if you follow 90-day drama closer than your own cousins, and tell me in the comments, at what point of silence do you start assuming something is seriously wrong? By the second day of no posts, parts of the fandom go into full conspiracy mode. Reddit threads with titles like, "Has anyone heard from Jasmine?" pop up. Fans compare notes. She usually posts at least a story every day. Last time she went this quiet was after that tell-all fight. She was crying in her last video, then nothing. Some try to be rational. She might be filming again. She might be resting her mental health. Others jump straight to the darkest theories, linking her absence to every rumor they have heard in the past month. This is the messy part of parasocial relationships. Viewers feel like they know her. They watched her break down on TV, share intimate fears about her kids, her body, her visa, her trust issues. So when she disappears even briefly, they take it personally. Some lash out at Gino, accusing him in his DMs of hiding something. Others attack TLC, saying the network is silencing her, controlling her posts, using contracts to shut her up. When a person whose whole brand is, "I overshare my emotions," goes quiet, the silence feels like a scream, and fans start hearing whatever story they fear the most inside that quiet. People online start pointing to every clue. A fan says she had a cameo request cancelled with a generic message. Someone else notices that Jasmine's usual "good morning" posts are missing 3 days in a row. A small fan page that used to repost all her stories says they have nothing new to share. Even time zones get dragged in. She usually posts at night for her audience, and there was nothing. Small facts become heavy signs. At the same time, other cast members are posting like normal. Selfies, ads, old clips, happy couple shots. That contrast makes Jasmine's silence feel even sharper. If everyone else is living publicly, why is the woman who usually craves attention, good or bad, suddenly off-grid? Theories pile up. Some fans insist it proves some kind of detention or questioning. Others suggest she had a mental health crash and someone took her phone. None of them have proof, but in the lack of data, narrative fills the gap. This is where things drift from gossip to anxiety. You start seeing comments like, "I know she is messy, but I hope she is safe," or "I disagree with her behavior, but I do not wish deportation on anyone." For the first time in a while, Jasmine is not only seen as a villain or a drama queen. She becomes, in people's minds, a human being who might be facing consequences far beyond a breakup or a storyline getting cut. At the same time, darker corners of the internet celebrate the silence. You see ugly comments hoping she was sent back, or joking about karma. That exposes something about the audience too. Some viewers forget there are real lives at stake and treat potential displacement like entertainment. Others push back, telling them they went too far. So even within the fanbase, there is a split: justice versus cruelty, curiosity versus empathy. Then you have TLC's role in this period. The network says nothing new. No updates on the injury beyond the original bland phrase. No extra social posts clarifying which cast members are filming where. No reassurance about Jasmine's status. That vacuum lets every rumor breathe. People accuse the channel of hiding behind NDAs, of protecting its brand at the expense of clarity, of using mystery to keep engagement high. Gino's behavior during this time becomes its own subplot. If he posts something unrelated, like a regular day, a random food photo, or an old clip with no Jasmine, fans spam his comments. Where is she? Why is she not posting? Why are you acting normal? If he does not post at all, they say he is in on the cover-up. He is trapped either way. Anything he does or does not do gets read as a coded message. Some people try to balance it out. They point out that reality stars are allowed to take breaks, that not every absence is some crime drama. That maybe, behind all the noise, a woman who has lived her lowest moments on international TV decided to breathe off camera for a minute. These voices are quieter, but they are there, reminding everyone that human beings are not content machines. Still, the timeline looks bad in fan eyes. Injury rumor, offset wording, social spirals, then sudden quiet. When those pieces line up, you get a picture that feels like the calm before some official storm, whether true or not. It makes viewers scroll harder, search more, pay closer attention to every scrap of information. And that kind of obsessive watchfulness sets the stage perfectly for the next shockwave. Because silence in this kind of story rarely lasts forever, somebody somewhere always slips. A relative posts something small, a friend forgets to crop a detail, a cast member likes the wrong comment. One tiny online move can blow the quiet wide open and give fans the one thing their theories were missing: a direction, a location, a hint that shows whether Jasmine has been weathering a private storm in the US or facing her fears somewhere else entirely. The silence breaks in the least dramatic way possible. Not with a statement from TLC, not with a long notes app confession, with a shaky, low-quality, 6-second clip that was never meant to be a press release. A relative, a friend, someone outside the TV machine, posts a tiny video that hits harder than any edited episode. You are scrolling through fan pages and suddenly, there it is. A short clip reposted from a private account. Jasmine, arriving at an airport that does not look American. No flashy outfit, no story filters, no posing. Hair pulled back, eyes red, face bare. One small bag in her hand, her dog in the other. No crew, no Gino. No TLC handler giving directions in the background. Just a woman stepping into fluorescent light that screams back home to people who recognize it. I am Sabrina, and this is TLC Drama Live. If you have ever seen one tiny clip change your whole understanding of a 90-day scandal, you know the feeling. Subscribe if you live for these moments where the fan theories crash against reality, and tell me in the comments, were you shocked the first time you saw footage that suggested Jasmine was back in Panama? Or did you always think this was where things would end up? The video is short, but it says a lot. Jasmine looking smaller than usual, shoulders almost curled inward. No high-energy swag, no exaggerated gestures. She is wiping her face with the back of her hand. Her dog looks restless, like it has been in a carrier for hours. In the background, signs, announcements, the kind of decor people from that region recognize. Viewers with sharp eyes start typing fast. That is Panama. That is Tocumen. Those are Latin American ads. In minutes, the location in fan minds shifts from mystery to she is back. The original caption on the family member's account is something simple and emotional. Nothing about TLC, nothing about legal terms, just the kind of thing relatives say when someone returns after a long absence. Fans grab screenshots before it gets deleted or locked. They repost with their own words. Jasmine deported, she is home, so all those theories were true. Notice, no one knows the actual legal reason she left, whether it was choice, contract, personal crisis, or status related. But the image of arrival, with tears, feeds the harshest narrative. One 6-second airport clip did what days of TLC silence could not do. It convinced fans that the off-screen drama had pushed Jasmine all the way back to the place she was most afraid of returning to. In those reposts, you can see the split in reactions clearly. Some write things like, "Good, she was toxic, she needed to leave with zero empathy." Others write, "I feel bad, you can see the pain in her face." People argue in the comments under the same video. Is this justice? Is this tragedy? Is this karma? Is this abuse from the system? Everyone sees their own story in that image. The dog in her arms becomes its own symbol. Viewers remember how attached she was to her dog on the show, how much she cried over leaving family behind, how animals were her comfort. Seeing her cling to the dog as she lands in Panama activates something in people. For some, it softens her. They say, no matter what she did, no one deserves to lose their dream and walk back through those gates like that. For others, it is a sign that she knew this trip was not a short vacation. You do not drag a dog across borders for a casual visit. Very quickly, fan pages start labeling the video with their own captions. Confirmed, Jasmine is out of the US. She has been sent back. Again, those are fan words, not court documents, but they stick. The original poster might delete or lock the content after seeing how far it spreads, but the genie is out. Copies live on. Reaction channels, blogs, TikToks, all using the same 6 seconds to build 20-minute breakdowns of what went wrong. Gino's accounts get flooded in this moment. People ask him directly, did she get deported? Why is she back in Panama without you? Why did you not go with her? His choice not to respond on that specific question speaks louder than any statement, at least in fan imagination. Some read it as guilt, some read it as legal caution, some read it as emotional avoidance from a man who never liked confrontation in the first place. At the same time, TLC keeps its line, no mention of deportation, no direct comment on her location. Maybe they spin it as Jasmine is spending time with family abroad, or they do not say anything at all. That corporate silence crashes against the raw, unedited airport clip and looks fake. In the courtroom of public opinion, the video feels like truth and the official brand lines feel like PR. This is where the weight of all those past episodes hits. Readers remember her yelling, "I left everything for you," her obsession with staying in the US, her talk of building a life there. Then they see her arriving back where her story started. The emotional jump hurts. Even if you think her behavior on the show was manipulative, the image of someone walking through arrivals with swollen eyes and no partner at their side stings. For many women who watched her, even those who disliked her choices, that clip looks like the nightmare version of their own fear. Give years of your life to a man, wrap your identity around a move, and then end up back where you began. Only now older, with kids who got used to your absence and a fandom gossiping about your failure. As the airport clip spreads, fantasies that she might be filming peacefully somewhere in the US crumble. The debate switches from, is she gone, to why and how did she end up like this? People start digging up every hint about her status again, matching timelines, trying to figure out if this was sudden, if she had warning, if she went alone. Some say, this looks like an overnight decision because of the tears and chaos. Others say, no, you do not get on a flight like that without days of paperwork and stress. Through all of this, one pattern stands out. TLC never shows you this kind of raw airport return on the show. They give you dramatic arrivals when someone comes to America, big romantic music, hugs, tears of joy. They do not give equal airtime to the flights going back, the empty goodbyes, the fear. That part only leaks when family members with phones hit post, for their own reasons, not for PR. So that tiny window into Jasmine's reality, whatever the official story behind it, hits like a missing scene the show refused to air. And now the audience wants to know one thing. If this is where she ended up, after all the chaos, who helped push her there, who tried to stop it, and who stayed silent at the exact moment their voice might have changed the path. If there is one thing 90 Day fans hate, it is feeling like the best parts of the story are happening where cameras are not allowed. By the time that airport clip hits everyone's feed, people are not only asking what happened between Jasmine and Gino. They are asking what TLC knew when they knew it, and who decided which parts of this mess stayed in the vault. You see it in the comments. They edited around something big. They are hiding the real fight. Production knew this was coming. These are not random ideas. For years, ex-reality stars from different shows have gone public about NDAs, forced storylines, Frankenbites where editors stitch different sentences together, and cast being told to repeat scenes for better drama. So, when a situation as serious as a possible forced return or legal scare pops off, viewers do not trust that the final cut shows the full truth. On 90 Day, we have seen obvious gaps. One episode ends on massive screaming, the next jumps ahead with a weirdly calm breakfast. Entire days vanish. Huge emotional shifts get explained with one line in a confessional. Fans know there is more. They know cameras are always rolling, producers are always listening, and hours of footage never air. So when TLC slaps offset incident on a real-life problem, people hear, we are protecting our brand, not the full story. The more the show trims the ugly middle, the more the audience runs to leaks, relatives, and rumor pages to fill in the blanks. And that is where the story starts to escape TLC's control. Think about the loyalty conflict here. Cast members sign contracts that often say they cannot reveal production secrets, legal issues, or behind-the-scenes incidents without approval. They risk getting sued, losing pay, or getting blacklisted if they spill too much. At the same time, they live with real fear about public perception. They watch strangers call them abusers, victims, liars, scammers with zero nuance. Some of them want to defend themselves, clear their name, or call out unfair edits, but those same NDAs hang over their heads. So whenever a leak appears in fan circles, whether it is a supposed voice note, a cousin's post, or a cast friend hinting on a live, people treat it like contraband truth. Even if it is secondhand, even if details are fuzzy, the breathless way it gets shared shows how hungry viewers are for unfiltered reality. They want to hear who begged whom to stay quiet, who threatened to involve lawyers, who decided an injury would be called offset instead of on-camera meltdown. The irony is that TLC might think they are protecting cast from audience backlash by hiding heavy material. In practice, the vagueness often makes things worse. Because when you do not show the full fight, fans imagine something 10 times darker. When you stop at the ambulance doors, the internet writes the hospital scene in its own words. When you hint at legal review but never clarify outcomes, people assume the harshest version. In Jasmine's case, whenever people online mention any hidden argument, scary night, or legal scare, her existing emotional reputation fills in the gaps. Some viewers choose a story where she is a danger, others choose one where she is in danger. Both camps use the same few crumbs of information, shaped by their feelings about her, and behind all that noise, the quiet question still hangs. How much of this chaos was amplified, controlled, or strategically hidden by the same network that sold her love story in the first place? By now the fandom is split into full-on camps. One side screams that Jasmine is a villain who finally faced consequences. The other side says she is a broken person chewed up by TLC and thrown aside when the story got too dark. And in the middle of that chaos, people start turning their anger away from the couple and straight at the machine that packaged their pain as Sunday night content. You see the shift in tone online. Early on, jokes, memes, clown emojis. Later, longer comments like, "Why did TLC keep filming when they knew this was spiraling?" Or, "They had no problem airing her worst meltdowns. But now that there is real fallout, they go quiet." Viewers begin to ask if they have been complicit. Watching every episode, streaming every clip, feeding the ratings, while forgetting these are immigrants, parents, partners, dealing with legal systems most Americans barely understand. On top of that, the airport clip and the off-set incident wording sit side by side in people's minds. Fans say, if there was enough drama for a rushed departure, why did we only get watered-down scenes on TV? Why were we watching recycled jealousy arcs while real stakes built up out of frame? They feel tricked, like the emotional investment they gave the show was based on a half-truth. Once viewers feel played, they stop only judging the cast and start questioning why a network kept squeezing a couple for content long after the story stopped feeling safe. This is when boycott talk flares. You see posts like, "I am done with 90 Day, they will exploit anyone," and "We should not be supporting a show that hides serious stuff behind cute editing." Some threaten to stop watching live and only catch clips on YouTube so TLC does not get the same ad money. Others call for more transparency around NDAs and filming conditions. Whether people follow through or not, the noise itself is a warning sign for producers. At the same time, hardcore fans and some cast defenders push back. They argue that reality TV is not a documentary, that everyone signs up knowing there will be messy edits, and that viewers only see a fraction of what happens. They remind people that adults choose to go on camera for money and attention, and that responsibility is shared. They also point out that we, as the audience, reward the most chaotic cast with the most engagement, then act shocked when the chaos spills off screen. This self-awareness stings. Some fans admit they egged Jasmine on in DMs, hyped up her crazy queen behavior, and then flipped to moral high ground when it all blew up. Others confess they watched her breakdowns for entertainment, while ignoring the real mental and legal pressure behind them. The line between entertainment and exploitation starts to blur for everyone involved. Still, there is one reason people keep coming back to this franchise. It shows raw patterns they recognize: control, jealousy, money held over someone's head, paperwork used as power. People see bits of their own relationships, their parents' marriages, their friends' immigration battles, hiding inside all this drama. That mix of relatability and distance, "This feels like home, but it is not my life," keeps them glued, even while they threaten boycotts in comment sections. So the question hanging over all of this is not only, did Jasmine deserve what happened, or did Gino betray her? The harder question is, what does it say about us that we watched them reach this breaking point in slow motion? Cheered drag memed, and only started worrying about the cost when an airport clip hit our feeds and made the fallout impossible to ignore. The wild part about this story is that even without a single official press release spelling everything out, most people watching feel like they know the core pattern by heart. Not the exact paperwork, not the legal fine print, but the emotional loop these couples get trapped in. Big promises, deep insecurity, visa pressure, public fighting, social media spirals, then some kind of off-screen consequence nobody wants to explain on camera. With Jasmine, that loop hit harder because everything was so loud. She did not hide her fear of going back. She did not hide her jealousy. She did not hide how much she wanted that US future, the surgeries, the influencer life, the validation. Every tear, every threat, every meltdown landed heavier because you could tell she believed her whole identity was on the line, not only her relationship. I am Sabrina, this is TLC Drama Live, and if you are still watching right now, you are not here only for gossip. You are here because something about this story feels uncomfortably close to real life. So subscribe, drop your thoughts in the comments, and tell me, when you look at everything Jasmine went through, do you feel more anger, more sympathy, or both at the same time? Look at the pattern clearly. A partner with papers, a partner without them. One holds legal power, the other holds emotional intensity. The citizen partner hesitates, avoids conflict, keeps options open. The immigrant partner clings tighter, reads every pause as rejection, every argument as a threat to their entire future. Fights that would be annoying in a regular couple become terrifying in the setup, because both people know, even if they never say it out loud, that walking away is not equal for both of them. You see it on 90 Day across seasons. People joke about green card hunters and sugar daddies, but underneath the memes, there is a harsh reality. A lot of cast from overseas walk into these relationships with fewer safety nets. Less money, less family nearby, less legal protection. When things go wrong, the citizen might lose a partner and some reputation. The immigrant might lose a country, a livelihood, and years of effort. That is why a single, offset incident, rumor around someone like Jasmine hits like a bomb. Because fans sense that whatever went down could have tipped that already unbalanced scale all the way over. Whether it was a loud argument, a physical accident, or something more complicated, the fear is the same. One night, one report, one narrative told by someone else, and the system decides where you are allowed to wake up for the next chapter of your life. You do not have to know every official detail of what happened to understand the emotional cost of living every day afraid that one mistake, yours or someone else's, will erase everything you built. What makes this heavier is how fast the internet turns these fears into content. People throw around words like deported, abuser, fraud, victim, like they are commenting on a scripted show, not real people. Half the time they do not even stop to ask, do I know that or do I feel that? Feelings get treated as facts. Rumors that started as somebody said on Reddit turn into, I heard she definitely, in 2 weeks. Does that mean Jasmine did not make bad choices? No, the show gave us real scenes of her blowing up over small things, dragging kids into drama, insulting, guilt-tripping, flipping stories. Viewers watched her behavior and saw red flags, saw emotional control, saw patterns many have lived through themselves. Calling that out is fair. Drawing firm conclusions about what happened in rooms you never saw is where people start crossing a line. On the other side, does it mean TLC is the only villain here, twisting a pure love story into disaster? No, they do amplify chaos, they cut for ratings, they hide what does not fit the brand. But adults sign contracts for this machine. Jasmine wanted the platform. Gino wanted the platform. Other cast want it too. There is shared responsibility when you let cameras into the most fragile part of your life. Still, one thing the show does consistently is normalize a kind of control that should never feel normal. People using visas as leverage. People using money as a leash. People using public humiliation as a tool to win arguments. We see it so often across couples that after a while, fans start accepting it as how 90-day couples are, instead of asking, why is this level of emotional warfare treated like entertainment? If you strip away the cameras and the spin, what you are left with is someone like Jasmine, terrified of going back to a life she felt trapped in, and someone like Gino, who enjoyed the power of being the gatekeeper to her new world more than he admitted out loud. That power imbalance is not unique to them. It shows up in millions of relationships, with or without immigration. Papers, money, social status, age, all of that turns love into a negotiation where one person feels disposable and the other feels irreplaceable. The reason this storyline sits heavy in people's minds is because they recognize those dynamics in their own circles. Friends who stay with partners because of housing, women who stay because of children, men who stay because of stigma, immigrants who stay because of documents. You might never scream on a tell-all, but you understand what it means to feel stuck by forces bigger than your feelings. So, what do you take away from a saga like this, besides TLC is messy and Jasmine is dramatic? You take away a sharper eye for control. You watch how often someone threatens your stability during an argument. You will have nothing without me. You are lucky I keep you here. I can destroy you with one call. If that language shows up, that is not passion. That is power play. You also take away a bit of humility about what you think you know from the internet. Next time a rumor pops up about deportation, abuse, or secret charges, stop and ask yourself, do I have proof, or do I have vibes built from edited scenes and my own bias? You are allowed to form opinions. You are not required to turn every opinion into an accusation, especially when the people involved already have courts, bosses, and governments judging them. For Jasmine and Gino, whatever the full truth is behind that off-set injury season, that airport clip, those silent days, one thing is clear. Their love story stopped being only theirs a long time ago. It became a cautionary example, a mirror, a talking point. People project their worst fears and their worst judgments on both of them. They lost privacy long before anybody lost a visa. And TLC, as much as they try to trim and package, cannot fully control what happens once those images leave their servers and land in our phones. Fans zoom in. Fans investigate. Fans rewrite. Sometimes they get close to the truth. Sometimes they drift far. but the hunger to see what really happens when romance, immigration, and reality TV collide is not going away. If this story pulled you in, wait till you hear about another 90-day couple where the visa pressure, money games, and secret betrayals did not stop at a breakup, but followed them into courtrooms and public records. That one makes this Jasmine saga feel like a warm-up.